right, welcome back everyone. Everyone that's live already knows that we've started. Everyone that's watching this is webinar 2. We're going to work through some questions today, look at some top-down analysis, most definitely, look at some perspective, and cover a little bit about timeframes, because I had something that I wanted to cover with you guys just to instill another understanding in you. Again, it's all based on the stuff that we've already done, a lot of the stuff that you're already learning, especially through the sections, and I know you guys are very much enjoying the new revamped sections, or hopefully you are enjoying them. I know that we had to delete a bunch and we've revamped absolutely everything, but this is a much more structured course now, so it's much easier to follow along. It's much easier to start seeing the market from the way I do, and again, it will take time. As we always talk about, realize that, I mean, I've put this in the welcome, I put this almost everywhere, but you all recognize that I spent about 11 years learning myself, trading myself, losing a fuck ton of money myself, about 1.5, 2 years of dedicated to just smart money learning, and on top of that, only about a year or a little under of actual consistent profitability. So it's not like this came to me in one day, but also I did not have something like mentfx when I started out. So now you guys are not only in good hands, but you're also someone who has, at least in my mind, been through almost everything that a lot of you are going through. We'll talk about that later. What about Ice-T? What he does to you? No, don't worry about Ice-T or anything like that. Ice-T's trades differently than me. We have different ways of trading. We have different mentorships. He's a great guy, all that stuff. Don't worry about that too much. Let's just stick to what we do. 11 years learning. I'm 21. Don't let that fool you. I started when I was about 10 or 11 in binary options, just kind of gambling all my parents' money away, just with the up or downs, you know. Got into indicators, that whole side of thing, got into the whole retail side. It's a whole story. So basically, ever since I was young as shit, I've just been focused on getting here. And this is all I really ever worked towards. Well, I mean, I had other aspirations and stuff, don't get me wrong, but this is the thing I knew I wanted to do. So you know, just let it always hang over you, and always give yourself time to learn all this stuff, because recognize it did not come to me overnight. It did not come to me over a week, over a month. Some of you, as you know, have learned tremendous amounts in the last few weeks, in the last few months that you've been here, for those of you that have, or even in the first month that you are here. And some of you have also seen yourself go through these phases of what the fuck is going on, I don't understand a single fucking thing, and then all of a sudden the next day, shit clicks, right? That's part of trading, that's part of learning. Not everything will come to you no matter how much you study. Sometimes it's about time, sometimes it's about just staring at the charts, you know, it's letting it come to you over time, because it's never gonna be as easy as that, right? So let's go ahead and open up our trading view. Here we go. As you all know, we sent out a little Bitcoin expectation. The expectation didn't play to perfection. It didn't play off the area that I wanted. Never got an entry anyway, so it was fine, but still correct about the overall bias. We can go and find that very quickly. As you all remember, we had to tap into here, and I was actually looking for entries or potential buy accumulation, schematics, or structure, whatever you use at this point, right, to confirm our entries at, I think you guys all remember, I had refined this overall area to this point right here, and I was actually expecting, when price was about here, for price to break down in the form of selling climaxes, ARs, ST, sign of strength, and phase B, STB, a spring. So we had everything playing out perfectly, and if this came to ride above structural highs, I would have already started to look for buys, or if structure or Wyckoff in this case came to validate the actual high, we would be looking for buys off the mentfx blocks or deeper areas of retracements at demand zones, right? And then we'd be looking to catch that higher. Sadly, we didn't have price play off of that specific area that I had refined to. And again, if any of you have seen the new supply and demand content in section 2, you know that just because you've refined does not mean price is going to come there. All it means is you have an easier area to look for price to potentially do something, right? So in this case, instead, if you did use the larger one, then you actually had Wyckoff play out relatively perfectly, come and start breaking structure intermediary here, trading back down into demand zones. Then similarly, coming to break larger structure here, trading back down into mentfx blocks or the larger demand zones. And from there, had the breaks above major structure right here. And as you can see, you had those backups, new signs of strength, backups, and continuations higher. If you guys remember correctly, I think I also sent out a buy that I was looking at this point right here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, at this point right here, on a much lower time frame, when price was here, don't worry about it. We just kind of started. Don't worry about being late. We sent out a buy right here as long as price didn't break up above some intermediary structure here. Instead, we had structure just break out, and we had missed this entry down here. However, based on how you were watching this or how you want to get involved, or if you were using this actual larger demand zone, which was again that 1 hour demand zone. So remember how we find our demand zones. They can be valid on multiple timeframes. And again, we're going to work through some questions and talk about that in a second. You could have had a beautiful entry off that. And since then it's been running so far, just mitigating and stopping a little bit at this demand zone up here. Of course, I mean, we can see this at almost any area again, but we know why it's doing this. Most likely making a run back into some demand zones down here. And again, potentially if I were trading Bitcoin and the spread was, and I was happy with the spread and I actually had a broker where I traded this, then I would have already been looking for buy opportunities as price gets down into here. But because I'm not trading that, I don't really give a shit about it. And instead, I'm probably going to be looking at gold or Euro US dollar. Reason I looked at a lot of gold last week was because I am waiting for my FTMO account. So I'm not trading Euro USD. But instead of trading Euro USD with Prosperity, so the broker that I recommend all of you, and again, I'm not sponsored by them, none of that. I just have the affiliate link because, you know, why not? Especially if you guys are going to join it. So instead of trading Euro USD, I was trading gold because I can trade more pips, right? So I can trade smaller lot sizes, which means less commissions, but still the same profits. So, you know, why the fuck not? It's just better. So I was just trading gold on Prosperity. But again, as you all know, gold has actually larger spreads with FTMO. So once I got my real FTMO, I'll probably be back on Euro USD, which means we can also look through that top-down Euro USD as you asked a second ago. So let's start from the very top, just work our way down a little bit. And as we work through some of the questions, I'm going to segue into the stuff that I wanted to talk to a lot of you about. Let me make sure this is being actually recorded. Again, as we speak, as we go through this, feel free to drop whatever you want in the chat. We will make our way through everything and most likely get to you guys in the chat. Let's start with the very first thing. I read this really quickly. You're 14 years old. That's amazing that you're in on this and all, and you understand what you're doing and you want to start FTMO. Fantastic. What is my best advice? Don't trade like an idiot. Don't revenge trade. Don't get emotional about your trades. If you have a system that you have determined works for you, if you understand how you want to get involved and you have seen it work on your back test, your forward test, or on your demo accounts, then stick to it. That's the best advice I can give you. If you start to go into drawdown or lose money, I myself don't like drawdown at all. I'm a little bitch about it. So I like to decrease my risk. So feel free to do that too. But again, I'm not going to tell you how to actually manage a proper live account because I'm not a consultant, none of that thing. All I'm going to do is tell you how I plot lines on my chart. All right. Or I'll tell you about how I manage myself. That's fine. So number one from Dylan, is it okay to trade a demand or supply zone that's only been partially mitigated, like less than 10%? So like I told you myself, when I have a demand or supply zone, oftentimes I like it to be fully unmitigated. Now, if I've seen the open mitigated, but I still think the area is, you know, is a good area to look for potential sells or buys, I will go and refine that area. Now, if that doesn't even work, or if I don't want to do that, what I'll do is I'll refine the general area. So in this case, you could actually, this is something we just looked at right here. There's like, you could count this as an open mitigation, or at least this is the open mitigation of this, right? I like to use the open or the 50. So in this case, I would consider this already mitigated, but I would also consider the 50% to be a potential valid area for mitigation. And as you can see, when we draw this out, we did have mitigation from there. And again, as you're on the lower timeframes, you most likely could have taken something in here that might have given you a nice setup lower. Just looking at it, maybe you didn't get an entry. I don't even know. I don't want to get down lower right now. But the idea is just concerning this specific question, a mitigation is a mitigation, right? And if it happens, then it's happened, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, it's not as probable now to have mitigation as it was when it did get mitigated the first time. Similarly, you can have mitigation at the open, the 50, or anywhere inside it based on, as you saw in section 2 of supply and demand in the actual mentorship, the private stuff, the supply and demand stuff, right, with refinement. So you can always go and refine as well. So let's get to the second one. How far should you be analyzing back on your top down, referring to the monthly and daily? Okay, so this is why I said this was a great question, because it's something that I wanted to cover with a lot of you guys today. So I myself, like I always tell you, when I trade one or two pairs, the reason I do that is because I already know what the higher time frames are telling me. When I analyze something, I go real top down. I don't just go, you know, 4 hour to the 5 minute or 15 minutes to the 5 minute. Now, it will become over the course of a week starting to look like I'm looking from a 15-minute to a 5-minute to a very low time frame confirmation, but in reality it's all part of a longer time frame. So if any of you were to, for instance, ask me, so let's just go to 15 minutes, go to euro US dollar. So if you were to, let's just scroll out to a random location. So if you were to right now ask me what my thoughts on euro USD are, I already, without having to go look at the chart, know that if I go to the monthly, it's going to look like this. It tapped into a demand zone, broke above structure, and is now trading up, most likely, I believe, into another supply zone here, most likely to create liquidity before either coming significantly higher or coming a little bit lower before meeting significantly higher prices. If I go to the weekly, I know that this area here looks like so. There's an impulse, there's a structural correction, and there's an impulse. And I'm expecting this structural correction to hold. If I get to the daily, I know that the daily has been bullish and has shifted bearish in the last few days and has now come to this specific zone right here, right? So again, as I go and analyze for you guys a 15-minute on Euro USD, for instance, or a 4-hour, I already know what my hard time frames are telling me. And this is because I condone and only believe that you should be trading off of an overall assumption and bias, right? So as a lot of you know, I'm a nutcase about your bias. And I always say trade your bias. And what I mean by that is your bias should be formed over a myriad of confirmations. Whether it's overall structure, whether it's even 4-hour structure, whether it's larger structure with supply and demand zones being mitigated and moved from, right? And so on and so forth. So like I said, remember everything that we put here. Again, we can go to the monthly, it's going to make it very small, but we can go, just remember what I said, right? We go to the monthly, we see exactly what we just highlighted. We know that prices tapped into that demand zone and moved away from it, breaking liquidity. And as I said, coming into supply zones up here. Weekly, as we get lower, we see those impulses with those corrections and those impulses, expecting price to continue from those structural areas. So again, we understand that we're overall bullish. As we get to the daily, we see that bullish structure that had shifted and given us that bearish structure as anticipated, right? And then from there, I always go and get lower and lower, looking at certain areas where I'm expecting price to mitigate from. Because as you understand, or as you guys have learned, if I'm expecting the weekly to be bullish from here, then I can be expecting it to be bearish when it begins to break down in structure on lower time frames to that area, right? And as a result, as a lot of you remember, we were able to catch many sells on the way down inside here. If you don't remember, my actual verification was off of a 15-minute structural play that was coming to mitigate some areas in here that didn't quite come to mitigate it. It was like that far away from it. And I got involved on this 15-minute, or I think it was a refined 1-minute or 5-minute supply zone with confirmation to take it down to these lows, right? Again, as you all remember, I got out around here because that was the completion of the verification. So, I mean, I didn't need to hold it, but it played out perfectly to this low and even dropped lower, right? If you guys remember that, we looked at that and we put a video out on it that ran about what, 1 to 200 or 1 to 100, right? And like, I'm not gonna go make a video like 1 to 100, come join the mentorship, like because I don't give a shit. Like, I understand how I manage. I understand that 1 to 100, 1 to 200 isn't always gonna happen. I know that a lot of the trades that we do take run that much, right? But the reality is you're not going to be unless you're gambling, you're not going to be really holding that long, or taking the entire 200% or making an entire 200% on a move like that, right? You could hold that long, but as long as you've properly partialed and managed your position all the way through. Now, something that's interesting concerning this is I was actually looking at Euro CNH with like a student. Someone did a one-on-one with me a while back, so I was looking at this with them. And if we just go to Euro CNH for a second, yeah, it was Euro CNH I wanted to look at. If I show you even this weekly, some of you might already see, where your potential bias stands. Maybe you start seeing, this is a mentfx block that breaks down, new mentfx block breaks down. You're looking for potential sells in here, so on and so forth, right? You might be looking at that and already having a bias. Maybe you get to the monthly, you see some kind of bullish movement from here. Maybe you see some kind of, this imbalance fill over time, and now you're maybe looking for bearishness, right? But in reality, what I had noticed about this specific currency pair, and again, I don't trade this one. I don't think you can even trade CNH. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure you can't trade it though. But what you'll notice about it is it's actually relatively harder to understand where it's going, even on a monthly, right? So the monthly is overall, you can still argue bearish, right? We had the breaks down, and you're probably looking for this, right? Based on the structure videos we put out, if you want to look at your major points, this is all that's happening, and you can be expecting this, right? So that's part of that expectation, but as well as that, you might have looked at this as a mentfx block. You had these shifts bullish, and all the way through here, you've had a lot of bullishness, right? And again, if you were just looking for bearish confirmation because you saw this is bearish, well, this would take you, you know, about 2,000 days to confirm. And, you know, I don't have 2,000 days to wait for an entry. So even when you look at something like this, and this is already a monthly chart, you can be still confused about the direction. But what we don't realize is this is why timeframes exist, because we exist in all timeframes at the same time. So with a simple 6M going to a 6 month, the whole perception of what you actually see changes. And what do I mean by that? We have this move down below, impulsive. So we know that this is technically, what do we call this? A structure break. And if we follow that up to the area that made that happen, the last buy to sell, this last supply zone that has not been mitigated, now this is a relatively easy map to follow. We've just tapped that supply zone. We may come to tap 50% of it, but overall the bias is where? To get to new liquidity points lower. So now we can form an entire bias on the way down for this to occur, to see prices come lower over time, right? And now basically the simple act of changing your time frame and changing your perspective just a little bit based on what you see on the actual chart completely changes how you look at this entire market, right? There's almost no question when we look at this right here specifically that we're tapping into a supply zone, that we most likely have Wyckoff here. Again, how so? Maybe on the monthly, possibly. So again, this is a monthly Wyckoff that's occurring. You have your buying climax, or you could say this is a buying climax, right? Maybe this one. Either one works. BC, AR, or you can say buying climax, automatic rally, secondary test, sign of weakness in phase B, up thrust, liquidity created, UTAD, and what do we look for? The breakdowns, right? Below structure, because that's what we can expect. And how do we expect that? Well, on lower timeframes, we can start to expect new supply zones to function as areas where we can see more fractal Wyckoff or structure be delivered. And now all of a sudden, just by looking at this overall area as a supply zone has changed our entire perspective of what was actually happening inside of here and given us an idea about where this market's heading. Now again, a lot of you have asked me about fundamentals. I don't give a shit about fundamentals. I just care about the chart, right? If you want to think about fundamentals, what is this really saying? This is saying that the euro to the Chinese yuan, I don't know, forgive me, to the Chinese currency is going to drop. Now, what does that mean? That means that the Chinese currency is going to get stronger. Which, does that make sense fundamentally? Yeah, you can argue it does. Why? Because China's destroying the fucking world from a standpoint of, you know, just production and whatever else. I don't know. I don't do fundamentals, but it doesn't matter, right? There are many ways to argue why this right here is very much a possibility from a fundamental aspect, which is why, again, I don't care about news, because the news is priced into the way the price is going to be moving anyway. Okay, so anyone that had questions concerning news, that's how it always goes. I don't give a shit about news. All I care about is what the price is telling me. Ultimately, I had a buddy of mine say a pretty good quote. He said, you know, show me a chart and I'll tell you where the country's heading, right? And that's pretty much how I feel. You can show me a chart of a company, I'll tell you if that company is about to go bankrupt or is going to continue, you know, having good growth. Let's move on to the next question. We'll move through them quickly because I can see you guys are dropping a lot of questions or messages down below, and I kind of want to know what they are. If a supply or demand zone have not been mitigated within 50%, is it still considered a valid zone? So again, refer back to the question I just answered above with the demand supply zone that's partially mitigated, right? So that's pretty much going to answer that. Dylan, great second question. Oh yeah, that's from me. Can you go over Euro? Oh my God, I can't speak. Euro USD. What is your bias? Also, can you cover when you take partials? Let's actually leave this for just a little bit later. But yeah, I'd be happy to take a look at Euro USD. So let's take a look at this. All right, we'll take a look at this in a second. Hi all. All right, this was all of us funneling in. Perfect. Was hoping we could kind of work through some confirmations on whether an area is either a reaccumulation or redistribution. So again, Nicholas, because I don't know if in the previous webinar we covered this, but as section 3 of the Wyckoff begins to be released to you guys and you begin to learn a little bit more about Wyckoff, and I'm going to repeat this over and over again, what you're going to learn about Wyckoff is that when we undergo an area that looks like this, right? This already on its own can be two things. It can already be a distribution and can be an accumulation at the same time. The only thing that will help you differentiate, first of all, if this is, again, I know you asked about reaccumulations and but let's talk about just normal accumulation distribution. The only way you are really able to decipher whether this is going to be an over and all an accumulation to go and make new highs, or it's going to be a distribution to come test and make new lows, is going to come from your understanding of your bias, or coming to the refinement of your own bias. If your bias was that from this area right here, price was going to be bearish, and you get something like this, your expectation as it is stands at this being a distribution, and that's it. And that's all you trade until your bias is invalidated. This is why I always say, you know, bias, 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 bias. Until that bias is invalidated of this being the area you want to sell from, and this then being a distribution, you're not going to assume anything otherwise, because that's what you've already been assuming in the first place. Now, on top of that, when we do look at reaccumulations and redistributions, they're nothing more than this kind of happening, but on a bigger template, right? And what I mean by that is, if you recall, so let's just look at accumulations. A normal accumulation looks like this, right? You have a selling climax, an automatic rally, a secondary test, an ST and B, a spring, right? The breaks above, the tests, and the continuations away. That is normal accumulation, right? And you can go and find the labels, go check out that book or any of the schematic stuff we have in the Wyckoff section on the Discord. So that's normal accumulation. Now, what does a re-accumulation look like? Well, it starts looking like a distribution. And how does that look? Well, it has the buying climax, right? The automatic rally, usually a secondary test, usually an up thrust. It could even make a UTAD, but then usually it'll come and start making this kind of creek, right? And this creek will create a channel. That channel will then get manipulated, and this will usually be your spring. Oftentimes, that's your spring, right? Then you'll have the breaks above structure, the tests, right? Breaks above structure, the test, breaks above, sign of strengths, backups, right? And the markup, right? Now, what's interesting about this is if we take what we see right here and we look at specifically this right here, do you see any difference between these two? There isn't, because one is part of the other, right? And if your assessment or assumption was already that you're going to be bullish, whether you see this happen before this, right? Or you just see this happen, just like we saw this, and it's tapped into an area where you're expecting buys, and it's tapped into an area where you're expecting buys, whether or not this is a potential distribution does not matter to you, because you're already assuming to see accumulation. Does that make sense, Nicholas? So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So the reality is the confirmation for whether an area is a reaccumulation or redistribution or even an accumulation or distribution is going to come down to your points of interest, your supply and demand areas, and what you're expecting from certain points in that market. Now, some of us, and just because I say this does not mean that it's not true, some of us do only use Wyckoff to enter and use Wyckoff to determine direction, stuff like that. I know Brian might do that and he's insane with it. But you also need to understand that this is a perfectly fine way of looking at it as well. And this is how I look at it. If you want to get deeper in the whole Wyckoff world, definitely just go and read about it and start to look at how reaccumulations and redistributions print. I used to trade them myself until I found out that this way of trading is a lot better for me. So I began to apply just the idea of an accumulation or distribution happening and understanding that it can happen fractally, right? So how is this right here any different from if price was doing this before, right? So now this has just become a reaccumulation instead of an accumulation. You see that? This is the difference between a reaccumulation and an accumulation. That's it. This is the difference right there. So you don't need to concern yourself with that if you're expecting this area to hold. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that question at that. And again, if that doesn't help, please let me know, and we'll look at it either after next week or in the section 3, because I want to make sure that when I do attack Wyckoff, everybody that watches it goes, oh shit, got it. So that'll be great. Best part of the Sundays, thank you. My big question is how to find the right point to enter the market, which indicates that we can really enter. Well, I mean, this is what everyone's here for, right? I mean, this is what we do. It's a pretty big question, definitely. Knowing that there is an imbalance zone, okay. Knowing that there is an S&D zone, okay, agreed. Confirmation by the mentfx block, and then imagine that it does not form a Wyckoff structure. How do I know when to enter? Well, there's a few ways then, because you can have your own idea of what a confirmation for you is. For me, I'm okay with confirmation on behalf of either Wyckoff or the mentfx block. Usually, I like to see Wyckoff and enter with mentfx block. Other times, if I do just see the mentfx block, but I really like the supply and demand zone, or I really like my bias and really want to get in, then I will get in. That's how it'll go. But usually, I'll confirm it with Wyckoff. Now, you asked, let's say you have an S&D zone and you had an imbalance, right? So it's a valid zone. You're expecting price to come in there, maybe form some liquidity, jump into it, right? And then give you potential areas for entry to get higher, that there's an S&D confirmation by the mentfx block. And then, so how do you confirm the mentfx block? Well, you wait for price to reach above this. Now, as it does that, and this mentfx block, for instance, is confirmed, you already are valid to trade for or look for bar. So don't trade because I say trade because you've tested it and you know that it works. Again, no financial advice here. Either trade the open of that mentfx block or wait for price to give you a 50% retracement and trade that. Otherwise, if you don't want to trade the risk of the mentfx block, wait for the actual mitigation and wait for the break above. This has now confirmed a second mentfx block. That's what a mentfx block confirmation looks like off a secondary one. Now you are valid to go again. Find out not financial advice, blah blah, whatever. To trade off the open or the 50%. This is valid entry. This is a valid entry. These are valid entries. These are not always going to hold, but the edge is on your side when you do this, especially if you manage it properly. As price takes off, you can manage the highs, or you can break even at new highs, break even at new structural points. Now you break even here, and you let it run potentially to your new areas of liquidity, support, supply zones, whatever it may be. And that's it, right? So that's how you can confirm those entries. And again, as you see this develop, you can already see there's Wyckoff in here. At least the way I drew it. I mean, there's not always going to be Wyckoff, but you know, you're selling climax, AR, STs, some kind of intermediary highs, STB, sign of strength maybe. Maybe you get trapped if you try to trade this mentfx block. But again, if you had a POI here, you shouldn't even be entering this mentfx block. Move down, spring, break above. Now, either you wait for this confirmation and get in, or as price gets to these areas, you look inside of there for what? New, smaller time frame mentfx block formations, mentfx block confirmations off mentfx block 2.0s, entries off the open or the 50%, or you look inside there for what? Wyckoff. So again, don't get too confused by this. We're going to go over this type of stuff more in the future, but that's all perfectly valid. The reality is you could even, if you really wanted to, and I don't condone this, but you can do it, if you found a way to put on 3 moving averages and wait for this confirmation, and then when price gets here, if the 3 moving averages cross the perfect way for you and you've tested it, then that can be a perfect confirmation entry too. Remember, just because we trade smart money does not mean you're limited to just these concepts. You can fully go outside of your own understanding of it. And as you all know, even I myself am always learning. So like, even though I trade profitably the way I trade, and I like to enter the way I enter, just because I do it the way I do, doesn't mean I have to only do that, right? And what I mean by that is, as you remember, I was looking at Wyckoff and looking for potential ways to project it into the future, to try and have areas where you can target with Wyckoff, right? And again, that doesn't destroy any of what I do as a strategy. All it does is adds a potential extra layer of better RR. That's it, right? Or better ways of targeting, or better areas to break even instead of just normal structural highs like I do, right? Because not only does strategy matter, but also your management matters. Your actual management is its own strategy, right? 50% is actually the concept, the way you're going to trade, and 50% is how you're going to actually manage when you enter, right? Retail is successful not because retail stuff works. Retail is successful because people that trade retail manage their trades properly. Smart money isn't successful because smart money works. Smart money is successful because the people that trade it, and maybe even get the highest fuck RRs on it, manage those trades well, right? So again, management, fucking key. Mwah. We love that shit. Have you watched the latest supply and demand? Oh, you just watched them? The latest supply and demand videos that I put out? Oh, you're asking him. I see. Really excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that, Martin. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Just going to oh, that's me. Nice. Hey, Anton, would you be able to go over how to use the lower time frame in cohesion with the higher time frame without confusing everything? Well, Declan, it's very hard to do that because it can get very confusing when you switch between them, and once you realize that stuff can go back and forth consistently, right? Constantly, especially on the lower time frames. So the easiest way to not get confused about this right now is to stick to potentially the higher time frames and understand confirmations of those. Because like I say always, whatever you see happen on these higher time frames is exactly what you're going to see happen on the lower time frames. What do I mean by that? If we were looking at this monthly chart of the euro US dollar and we see price come and tap in, so I mean like selling climax, AR, ST, SOS&B, STB, spring, price moves away, breaking structure, leaving behind demand zones, price comes back in, tests those demand zones, moves away. This exact same model right here is going to be seen on any time frame. And what I mean by that is this exact same model you see right here is going to occur right here. How so? Let's circle it. Let's go take a look at it on the daily. Sure, why not? Okay, great. I mean, it's not going to be as clean, but So again, if we make our way over here, and as we go over section 3, you guys will understand this, but what do we see right here? That same model happening. Selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test, ST and B, the break above, leaving behind demand zones, price comes back in, trades away from it. That's the same model seen here. Now, where can we see that model again? Well, you guessed it, inside of those demand zones right here, most likely. Let's see, okay? And again, we're on the high time frames, but we go to the 4 hour. Again, what do you see as we get lower there? You see, all right, selling climax, AR, ST, SOS and B, STB, another SOS that might trick you. So this might have actually tricked you if you use this as a POI. Then the actual STB or spring, because inside there's its own Wyckoff, the breaks above, mentfx blocks formations, so on and so forth. You can look for potential tests back in and continuations, or tests at new structural potential candle lows, right? And confirm the same thing, because what are you going to see inside here if you want confirmation like that? You're going to see this in here, and so on and so forth. And again, the Wyckoff's not always going to be clean, but this is, I mean, as you get lower and lower, all of it's going to be fractal. So if you get confused by lower time frames, start to work with just the higher time frames, because it's going to repeat. Or just get on a 1 minute chart and try to follow some structure and go back and forth and just understand where price is heading, right? And just see how that plays. Because again, like I said, it's all going to repeat. This maybe wasn't the best example. I mean, like, I'm doing this, I don't have any of this prepped, but here specifically, it was a fine play. You can see price came back down just into that mentfx block, just like we looked at, and from there didn't really come back. Traded back, validated this next mentfx block 2.0, gave you a confirmation, like I said, right? This is on a daily. Guess what it did? It confirmed it with this wick and tested it with this wick. So you still had an opportunity to get involved there if you were using this larger mentfx block, right? There are multiple, they function on every single time frame. You just need to understand how to look for them. And if you're getting confused, or like you said, it's confusing everything, then do not get onto the lower time frames just yet. Andy will even tell you, Andy used to think that the seconds were just crazy. Even though he was a crazier scalper, he would still stick to the lower time frames. But then once he really understood the 5 minute, the 15 minute, and the 1 minute, guess what? He's now on the 5 second, 15 second every fucking day. Doesn't give a shit, because he understood the higher, right? And if you don't understand the 1 and the 5 and the 15, they're so confusing, stick to the 4 and the 1, right? And that doesn't mean that you have to come every day and just look at the, you know, the new 3-4 hour candles that printed, or the next 4 hour candles that printed. Instead, you know, go and back test it and watch it happen. Like right here, what I'm doing, right? Try to follow the way structure broke down into this area. Follow the way structure broke down from a candlestick perspective, how it broke up, never validated, right? Maybe made one mentfx block, but never validated the second one, came back in, came up here, came in here, started to put in new structure, broke structure, validated structure right here, came back in with the mentfx blocks and multiple ones in here. So again, look inside on the 4 hour for the structure and how it played out here, and notice how it was delivered to you, right? You just have to follow it along. And this same thing will repeat, like I said, everywhere, because it's nothing more than the liquidation of people that are trying to get involved. And then after we've undergone accumulation distribution, we continue to our given points, right? So hopefully, Declan, that helped. Let me know as I make my way down. I'll of course see whether that helped or not, but do let me know, please. Damn it, how I missed it. Not at all. You enter on your own confirmations, whatever they may be. Exactly. Well said, Kels. Yep, that's exactly what we talk about. You started the fuck at me, right? Right. This is when we got in. Beautiful. I watched some of the 4th S&D, but haven't finished it. It was really good though. You also got the 5th one coming up. I think the 5th one we break the fucking internet. Let's see. Yeah, we have a 5th one here too. That'll break the internet for you. You'll love it. So make sure you guys work through that content. And of course, take your time. Rewatch if you have to. Take notes. Test. Get better. Get really confused. Get away from trading. Quit trading for a week. Want to come back. Start to see shit again. Light bulbs go off. Amazing money prints, you know. We're about to get lit. We are. I've seen all the videos 2 times, but I still have some doubts. Oh yeah, you were saying that it's hard learning when English is your first language. I mean, they do have some subtitles, but don't worry, it's not because you're not English. It's because not all the concepts are just simple to grasp, right? I might look at something and see like everything in one go. Doesn't mean you guys do. And it won't mean that you might in a while, right? You still have to work at it. All good, right? You guys can hear me, right? That was all good. Perfect. Need more icons, gold everywhere. Looking for an amazing week for sure. Secure the 200K. Holy shit, Shane, you're crazy. Hopefully we're looking at 300K. Oh, you're already done with 100K? Wow, nice. That's amazing to hear. Yeah, I can't wait to do 200k. It's gonna be fun. Those SND zone wiki part finally makes a bit more sense. Still backtesting that. Good. We love to see this stuff is making sense. Are you recording? Yes, I hope. Yes, we are. Thank God. If I didn't record this, I'd be so mad because we've gone over some really nice stuff. Really good content for some of you, and I can of course use it to formulate a proper section 3, and potentially even extra to section 1 and 2. But I think we got those pretty much covered, unless there's some question that I like think of or that I see that I was like, oh my God, I didn't really cover that. Easy on the keyboard, bro. Yo, don't worry, it's tactile. It's made for it. It likes it. What are the meetings during the week? We don't have the meetings yet. Some people just set them up sometimes. It's not consistent yet, so don't worry about that too much. You'll see them talk about it in like trade talk or anything like that if they do set it up. It'll be very easy to see. And if anything, again, as I do actually change up this Discord and make it better, we'll have a section dedicated to that stuff too. I like the new music. Nice. Thank you so much for the new category. Appreciate it. New course is much better. Thank you, everybody. New content structure is legit. We love that. Now, what about ICT? Oh yeah, we spoke about this. All is good. We went over that. Mike wasn't happy, but if you have no problem, it's perfect. Yeah, we should be okay. Damn, you started so young. Yeah, I definitely started young as shit. Hello, I'm 14. My FTMO this week. What's the best advice? We went over that at the beginning. Hopefully you heard me. Otherwise, just watch back once this is uploaded. Yeah, I follow ST2. It's superb, but you, bro, you're the king. Anton the king. Thank you, man. I mean, we have very different ways of trading. He definitely does some crazy stuff. And I don't think he believes in 2-pip stop losses or something. Like, he doesn't believe it's even possible. But, you know, everyone has their own cup of tea. A lot of you didn't believe that a minute chart was possible, and now all of you are, like, okay with understanding that 5 seconds and tick charts are the fucking future, right? Like, I mean, perceptions can be changed, but that doesn't really matter right now. Money motivated at a young age. Not even money. Like, I don't really care about money. I just wanted the freedom. You know how it is. Sheesh, been woke as fuck early on. That's what I was going to ask you. Said been training for 11 years, but sound like you my age. Yeah, exactly. I'm late. Nah, you're not late. Don't worry about it. Can you go back to 15 minutes on this chart, please? Shit, I don't even know what I was looking at. My bad, man. How do you use Elliot wave corrections in your strategy? Ooh, Elliot's gonna be for another time, most definitely. I wanna work through Elliot with you guys. But we don't need to talk about it. And even if we did, Zoom failed to deliver. If you remember, I had a buy position somewhere inside of here, so that fucking sucked. I made that back on Marvel though. I was taking some sells on Marvel a few days ago. I got into sells right here at this point, so that was really nice. But it doesn't really matter. I didn't post any of that. These are just stocks, so don't worry about that. I was just trading some options. Again, we still. I mean, this Wyckoff schematic never got validated, right? So it was a dumb trade on my part anyway. I just wanted to get in early at, you know, demand zones and stuff. But theoretically, we should have waited for this. But now we might actually see this happen, and then there could be great opportunities. And, you know, the Elliot's going to be fine too. And we'll talk about Elliot down the line as well with a lot of you, so don't worry about that. We'll definitely talk about it later though. I don't use Elliot in currencies anyway though, so don't worry about Elliot in terms of, you know, me keeping anything away from you in the strategy. Can you please go over GJ? I mean, what did I have on GJ? It's bullish. I was looking at buys from here, I remember. I wasn't actually staring at it, but it probably had a great opportunity in here, maybe. We can take a look at it lower. If you were on the 1 hour chart, you had your block right here. mentfx block got confirmed. You had all this as mitigation. If you wanted to wait for the second one, if you want to trade inside it, there's Wyckoff in here. Otherwise, if you waited for the second one, it got validated right here. And then all of this was valid for a buy. And from there, I mean, we're just sitting in mini buys, right? You would probably take in, if you wanted to, a buy here or at the 50%. So 50% never got hit. Took a buy here without any confirmation. This would be your trade. You'd have to take, I would, even though this is very shit RR, take some partials here if you were on the 1 hour, that is. And now I'd just be at break even or just letting it run however you want to, like maybe at this low or something like that. You could like move your stop loss. Even if it's not a break even, you've already secured RR, right? Otherwise, if you got even lower, where was I looking inside? Oh yeah, this tap. If you got even lower, again, we can take a quick look at this. Here we go. We got more Wyckoff in here. Or if you want to take mentfx blocks, you have this. Trades in, confirms the mentfx block, right? This is the overall down move. Comes back in. When does it trade above it? Validate it right here. What does it do? 50% or the open is fully valid. We can take the 50%. Let's get our 50%. You can see how perfectly that got hit. I mean, it went a little bit deeper. If you want to use the actual demand zone, even better. So you could have either refined it to just this mentfx block, taken it higher, or refined it to this last demand zone, like that, right? So these are both valid, but I'll just use the mentfx block because that's how I'd probably take it if I was taking it on a 15-minute, but I don't even trade the 15-minute. And similarly, you know, partial on the way to potential new highs, partial here at 1 to 5. So again, we just made that 1 to 1 and 1 to 5. And again, like we can keep playing with this. You can look inside there for confirmation. There's probably confirmation in there, or you can get even lower of this original play that was down here. If we can go find it, right? Same thing happening. You have this last down move right here. Here's your mentfx block confirmed. Wait for it to get tapped back into. Boom. Wait for it to get validated right here. Boom. Get your entry off the open or the 50. I think this doesn't hit. This doesn't hit. Does it get below it? Oh, it does. So in this case, you can see the mentfx block does not always work. But if you were watching this and you notice how high this got, you would have possibly noticed that you had created a new mentfx block, and you would have taken into account that this low might not be the one that holds, but instead this low or this low might be, right? So this is the idea, again, of timeframes and always understanding that you're in multiple timeframes, always existing in multiple timeframes. Never forget that, guys. It's really, it's key. So you saw how just there, you could have been protected from that had you just understood what you were looking for. Yeah. I mean, we can go deeper in here to see if you had an even better opportunity for entry. I mean, like, we can keep doing this, right? That's your POI, as I showed you. Get even lower, maybe a 1 minute. And nothing really, kind of the same area. You might have used this one, and then you would have gotten a great entry right here on that wick, but I wouldn't. Like, this is just too, like, I could lie to you and say that you could do that, but reality is I wouldn't, but you could. This is perfectly valid. Get a little bit lower. Maybe we can find something even fucking crazier. Yeah, there we go. 15-second, right? Anything crazy? Where's the move? From here, mentfx block formed, comes above. When does it test it? Either here or here. You can use this one. Test it with one. Maybe this is not enough for you, so you don't use it, but that is a valid wick right there. And you can see prices delivered instantly to you. Again, even if you weren't sure about this as a mentfx block or the confirmation, you could have taken this open right there and taken this just below the low, right? And similarly, it might look huge at the time, but that same, well, let's drag this out. But that same exact target, oh my God. I swear every time I drag it out, it doesn't get big enough. There we go. But that same exact target that we were looking at up here as a 1 to 1 just became a 1 to 12, right? And that was just with waiting for your refined entry. That's it. And again, like, that's not your only entry. If you missed that and you waited for those 15 minutes to break higher, there was entries in here, there was entries in here, there was entries in here that stopped you or took you to partials, stopped you, entries in here that might have taken you to partial, stopped you, then new entries right here that then ended up coming up here, right? So again, remember, as like the guy asked about the refinement of multiple time frames, you need to recognize that the lower you get, the more you're likely to switch structure back and forth, you know, back and forth, just constantly. So you have to expect that on the lower time frames, or stick to the higher and look for those longer term confirmations. Again, RR is not going to be as crazy, but you're going to get into better trades. That's how it is. Well, I mean, not necessarily better. Like, you guys know how I get in, but that's GJ for you. Generally bullish. What I was bullish from that area specifically. Again, right now is just in kind of like a mini. Like, this is just fucking ugly, right? It's gonna have a correction most likely. Don't know if it will, but if it does, boom, right? And unfortunate, but right now you can be using new demand zones that form. Actually, let's play this out a little bit. Here we go. Where are they forming? Right. Oops, we just got above here. Is there any demand zone? No, not really. Kind of shit, right? If there was, you know, you could be looking for buy somewhere in there, but there's just nothing here. Maybe there's one right here on a lower time frame, right? This is where you just come to refining. Nah, it's already been mitigated. This one's been mitigated. Like, there's really nothing. Too much on GJ. Has this liquidity grab. Price began to break. I don't know. I don't see anything crazy here. It's just in a little bit of an upswing. I mean, if I had to. So this is just bullish as shit. Just switch bullish. mentfx block's been holding bullish too. Let's go to the 4 hour. Let's get rid of this. This is getting on my nerves. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. Cool. 4 hour. You had this last up move for the down move, and then we just got above it. So we created overall this down move to the up move. So I mean, this is all technically fine for bullishness, but again, like I said, I don't like the way the chart's moving. I'd have to wait for more, or I'd have to intraday swing everything in it, right? Because as we get lower, what the fuck is that? That's just ugly. But as we get lower, I mean, we start seeing more areas of supply and demand that have not been hit yet. Potential mitigations. Again, price could come even higher. Like I said, price could deliver higher. A little bit of a Wyckoff here. Not sure about it. Buying climax AR, ST, up thrust. Kind of a breakdown. leaving behind this mentfx block, leaving behind this next mentfx block, and now right now actually testing it. So actually, this is kind of valid for sells, right? To get at least to these lows here, based on the way you want to enter these. And there might have been even confirmation inside of there. But again, this was end of day. The fucking ugly as shit. You don't want to trade this. I mean, unless you're crazy, go for it. It's not too bad, but I don't like it. BC, AR, ST, maybe UT, breakdown. When does that happen? Like here, breakdown. Can trade that mentfx block or the supply zones. Breakdown. Maybe I would have looked for the entries here. So I mean, you can see it validated it and gave you an entry, and then dropped. So there was already opportunities there. But overall, GJ, I look at this and I say, nah, I can trade something better. I have no interest in this right now. Can you show us how you counter trend trade? Same way I just showed you. You have an expectation, and with that expectation, you know price needs to get to a certain area, and for price to get there, it has to make its way there multiple ways, right? So again, just watch the videos on structure, because that's exactly what the idea of structure is. Just because this is structure doesn't mean we have to wait for this to enter buys, right? What it means is we can enter all the buys inside here, enter the breaks of structure down into those areas, enter the breaks of structure in between those, enter the breaks of structure down, right? I don't even think about counter trend anymore, really, because everything's part of a trend. It's really weird. The only time I think about trend is, you know, are you entering with the trend of the certain time frame that you're looking at, and is it in confluence with what the potential higher time frame trend is telling you, right? So it shows how to counter trend trade. I mean, like, what we're doing here is counter trend trading, right? Because we're expecting this to make a run back down into these daily zones or even lower. So we're looking for the sells off confirmations higher, right? That's it. So you saw how the same way I just looked at that for, what was it? For A1. For A1 is the same way that I counter trend T1. All right. Thanks, Anton. Yeah, for sure, man. How old am I? 21, guys. 21. 21 and genius. How do I know when my monthly membership is due for the mentorship? I think it's in your email. You should be able to see it in your email. I think they send you an invoice. And it's not due, it's recurring. So don't worry about that. If you're happy with staying, of course. What are your criteria to enter with little, no draw, or what confluence do you use to know price has depleted momentum in your POI area? The stuff we spoke about a second ago, right? So mentfx blocks or Wyckoff. Definitely. And again, for the people that want to know more about Wyckoff, definitely wait till the section 3, or feel free to ask the questions and I'll be happy to look over it with you guys in the webinars, because I have no problem looking at it with you guys. Like you guys saw, I just did the whole thing with reaccumulations and accumulations. Yeah, should be in your email. Exactly. Yeah. How do you validate the bias? mentfx blocks and or structure shifts, right? Same thing, or Wyckoff. How many positions should you enter once you decide to execute your trade? 1. Why would you enter more? You enter 1 position and then you can get involved in more positions on the way with re-entries as you partial and stuff like that, or as you move to break even. But you should only be taking 1 trade, because you can partial on every broker and program available to you. You can trade it. Oh, you can trade it? I see. I don't care about it. I don't want to trade it. I was just saying that that's how you could look at higher time frames. The way you broke that down and changed the perspective is lit. Yeah, exactly. So that's when we looked at the Chinese currency, right? You guys saw how just changing the time frame changed where we are in the trend, right? So that's also the idea of counter trend. That counter trend played for a long time. Remember that monthly one that was going up? That was a long counter trend, but it was still part of a monthly trend. But it was also part of daily bullish and bearish trends, right? So on and so forth. But it was all part of what? A 6-month, so half a year. It was part of a half a year bearish trend, right? So, but it's not like we were counter trending it, because trend exists everywhere, right? Theoretically, if you really want to think about this, every stock, if you look at it on a decade or like a century worth of data, is bullish unless it went bankrupt, right? So, I mean, are you just going to take buys on that stock? No, especially if that's the only stock you trade, right? Similarly, if you looked at Bitcoin with a century worth of data, which is going to look like what? 1 green candlestick like this, I mean, it's bullish, right? But that doesn't mean that you're only looking for buys, so on and so forth. Hopefully that made sense. Let me take a look at your image. 5 minute, we have mentfx block confirmed, mentfx block within that mentfx block. It hasn't confirmed the second one. BCAR, maybe some Wyckoff. I can't really see it. You might have to expand that. Definitely a valid supply zone. Yeah, I mean, this is fine, but I myself wouldn't just be taking this. But this is fine. Like, the sell makes sense. I'm not going to say the sell doesn't make sense. Just, you know, it's risky. But I mean, if this is something you tested and this works with, you know, confirmations as price breaks down and comes back to test a supply zone that's unmitigated, and you see that the edge is in your favor, then yeah, fuck yeah, go for it, because that's your system, right? Here we go. I love it. Zoom, yeah, Zoom fucking sucked. We should have waited. I was really down for entering that early, but you know, I'm not. Only 21 guys, got time to make mistakes, right? Just dropping straight facts. Thank you. I bet now you care about the news. Oh fuck yeah, true. FTMO. That's the only reason I'll care about the news, but I never care about it for the actual direction and stuff like that. Let's reanalyze Zoom. I just reanalyzed it for you. Spring potentially. That's it. That's the only reanalysis. Because overall, we're still, you know, bullish. I mean, all stocks are bullish. Really, stocks only go up, right? So, so we're always gonna be bullish on this. Definitely. Can you go over your confirmations? I mean, yeah, we just spoke about them though. Area, Wyckoff, break above, mentfx block. Either I'm happy with this, or I'll take a small position here, or second mentfx block confirmation, get involved, take it higher to the zones, structure, partialing with supply zones, or even structure along the way. Otherwise, just look for mentfx block into mentfx block. Otherwise, look for structure break, right? Get involved here or here. So on and so forth. These are like, they're all the same thing, right? That's what you have to recognize. They're all the same thing. Can you analyze plug or FCEL? Maybe. I don't know what they are, but I'll take a look. I still promise to look at Euro USD if we do have time, because we're at almost an hour. I mean, like, it's fine, it's no big deal. But we're almost at an hour, so I know that about an hour in, people usually just fucking lose all interest and start leaving. So we'll look at it if we can. Or just ask me in the Discord later or something, or send me a markup that you're looking at, and I might take a look. All right, but we might take a look. If the retest zone, okay, so let's say we have, I don't know, this, right? If the retest zone is on open, you delete that zone and you don't wait for 50% to come again or not. Well, yeah, I mean, if what you mean is you had like a mentfx block and then price came to test the open, right? And it actually had a pullback. It wasn't like, sometimes you'll have price break above like this, right? And have meat like that. First of all, I do count that as a test, right? That could be the test that takes off to new highs, right? You saw that happen on the daily chart of the Euro US dollar when we looked at that. But also, I don't really count that until I see, you know, a real pullback into it. So whether that pullback wants to go to 50 or even wants to go to the open, right? Then that'll confirm it for me. Because the zones can be repeated 3 to 4 times. Yeah, I can be repeated. Makes sense. Beautifully articulated. Oh yeah. For the question. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, appreciate that. Brian the Beast. Yeah, Brian's fucking crazy. What is your keyboard insurance? It's from Razer, bro. Razer. They're the best keyboards ever. I love them. Can you give an example of a mentfx block confirmation? Yeah, so we did that a second ago, but again, we can do it here. For instance, right? We have bearish price action for the most part, right? So you can probably say this is all bearish. Looking for mentfx block confirmations. Those will come from where? This high being traded through. However, as we're waiting for that to get traded through, we get a new low. That low comes from where? This high. So now what do we need to wait for that mentfx block to be validated? This high, right? Mentfx block gets validated. There it is, right? Mentfx block 1. That's not confirmed fully yet. That's just one mentfx block. And again, they're valid, but that doesn't mean they're going to hold. Just because there's a mentfx block, and again, like I said before, they exist everywhere. Just because there is one doesn't mean it's valid, boys. All right, so we wait for the pullback into it. We can easily see it gets above, mitigates it. That's mitigation. Okay, where did that come from? This high, right? Follow that down. That's your block. Where's the validation happen? Whenever it trades above, right? Validation happens. At that point, you're valid to go for either the 50% or the open, right? And as you can see, it gives you the open multiple times, right? No problem. Takes you to higher prices. That's a mentfx block confirmation. And instead of just doing that, look for that inside of zones and confirm that within zones, because the same way we just did this, right? The same way this just got validated, instead of just trading this open, what you could do is take this and say, all right, that's my POI. That's my overall supply zone, right? You can go inside there. Let's go 15-minute because there's a lot of price action here, right? And we can follow it again. I don't know if this one will work, but let's see, right? We have this high, trade above. We make one mentfx block. Do we make a second one? No, 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 make a new low. Okay, great. What made this low? This, okay? Did a new low get made? Yes, this. Where did that come from? Right here. Let's wait for that to get validated. Gets validated. Where's the test of that? Right here, right? That's inside. So maybe we have to get lower here so you can see that. There you go. Right, move down, move above, tests it, mitigates it. When does it get validated again? Right there. You can actually see that wick did get above it. That's a validated mentfx block. What can you do? We've just refined that exact same area to this overall mentfx block, or the 50%, right? Both are valid. And now that same trade, right? The same one we just looked at a second ago. Let's drag this all the way over this time so it doesn't fuck this over again. There we go. That same trade that we just looked at from that higher mentfx block daily. Let's go like this. Let's go like this. Let's go daily. That same one we looked at right here. So instead of doing this, and again, prices could have done this. We would have partialed along the way, and then it could have came all the way back in. We don't know if it wanted to or not, right? That's why this is the overall mentfx block. So prices could have, right, given us 1 to 1.9 RR, or in this case, 1 to 36 RR, right? All about just refining that mentfx block to multiple mentfx block confirmations within each other. Jesus, I literally can't speak English. What the fuck's wrong with me? What is a mentfx block? That's the best. You've been sitting here listening to me talk about it. Bro, check out, watch the structure videos and watch the supply and demand videos. But structure videos, I think we covered in subsection 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken. There are vids in Discord. Yeah, exactly. Wyckoff lower time frame within higher time frame equals GOAT. Yes, it's OP as fuck. See structure 4 onwards. Yes, yes, yes. You trade off. That's for Andy. I'll let Andy answer that. Do you find that Wyckoff happens just above? Yo, get that shit out of here. There you go. Do you find that Wyckoff happens just above and just below S&D zones? Is that something we should be looking out for? I mean, that's what I look for, right? If I have a zone and Wyckoff is happening before it, I still want it to tap in on the spring or the UTAD, right? That's important. Yeah, definitely that's what you should be looking out for. But otherwise, I mean, there's people in mentorship that trade specifically structure and mentfx blocks within confirmations, and you can do that too, right? Remember, there are multiple ways you can confirm, and you can stick to one or you can stick to multiple, right? I like, first and foremost, Wyckoff. I'll use it like for 90 to 95% of my entries because I know how to look for it and I know what I like to see. But you know, that 10% of the time or 5% of the time that there's a mentfx block and I'm like, where's my Wyckoff? I can't see it, but I love this entry. Sometimes I'll use the mentfx block to enter, but I might enter less and then enter on a Wyckoff confirmation within that mentfx block, right? So you can confirm a bunch. Here, let me take a sip of some coffee because I'm like dehydrated, which I guess won't help, but it's okay. When you say entries off of the open, do you mean the top of the wick or the open of the body? The wick. Most of the time, I wait for me candle pattern. Confirmations at 50% of MB for enter. Perfect. Yeah, you can do that too. That's perfect. 13 EMA, 50 EMA, 200 give similar signal. Exactly, right? So you can also find EMAs. You can find candle patterns. You can do whatever you want. Can you go over GJ? We kind of did. Hopefully that was enough. Let me know if that was okay for you. But I hope you understood the way I looked at it and why I was looking at it. And at the same time, answered the counter trend question. How's the limbo running? Oh, the Lambo? Yeah, I don't actually have a Lambo. Sorry, guys. I don't even want a Lambo. I'm gonna buy a Porsche. Let's see our new meme of the week. As always, it's always been a thing. We gotta check them out. Here we go. It's gonna open. Hello. Give me my meme. There we go. Retail waiting for the 5 RR. He just did him so fucking dirty, man. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's great. Seconds is my shit, baby. Exactly. Yeah. So as you guys might know, Andy at first thought that the seconds were absolute mayhem. Even himself being a scalper thought that the seconds weren't even a thing. And now he only trades the seconds. So it's all about, you know, take over time, understanding where you stand and how, and just and learning from that, right? Basically. Because like I said, it's not going to come overnight. Like we started the whole thing by saying, you know, stop thinking it's coming overnight. For some of you, you know, some stuff might click, but even when stuff clicks, you'll lose your edge at some point and you'll feel like you just forgot everything for some reason. Like you just underwent some weird like mushroom trip, but all of a sudden it'll come back again, right? So always understand that that's all part of the process. Like I've been in this fucking how long doesn't even matter, but I still have days where not anymore really, but sometimes I would have had days where I'm like, oh, do I even know how to fucking trade? Like, because you know it's easy to doubt yourself, especially since this is a business where it's all up to you really. And sometimes taking a few losses can really make you go, you know, like have a head shock. But never stray from your system. Oh, and never, especially if you've tested it and you know it works. Just reduce risk if you have to. Thanks, that cleared it up a bit. I'm gonna practice it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I remember you asked the question. How do you look at structure if BOS is at 1 day for down and weekly uptrend as the situation now in EU? Well, the same way. Just because daily structure might be this does not mean it has to continue, right? Just because daily structure is this does not literally mean that this has to happen. All it means is this is more probable to happen, right? But this can easily happen and we're not surprised by that, right? So if you're expecting this area here, that is that weekly bullish place, to be the area where you want to see buys from, then it's not crazy to assume that this may happen. That's it, right? Just because structure is down on one time frame doesn't mean it can't reverse. That's always we have to keep in mind. Like that wouldn't make any sense then, right? A lot of us don't just assume we're bullish and we're bullish forever, right? This switches. It switches on us. It'll switch on you. That's what's up. That's how you do it. Higher time frame meaning like 1 minute MB and then refine to like 15 to 5 second Wyckoff, my bro. Yeah, exactly. His Andy's higher time frame is 1 minute. Nice. He just trades that 1 minute structure. He just waits for structure to perform, give him a supply zone, and he'll look for that 1 second confirmation in here. That's perfectly valid too, just so you guys know. That's perfectly valid. That's everything that I do, just on a much smaller time frame. Like, I mean, I still do the 15 and 5 second entries, but I still build that bias from a higher time frame. And I might not use as many areas as Andy might use on the lower time frames, right? It's literally up to preference. He likes to do this shit, let him be a crackhead, right? Like, crackheads gonna be crackheads, right? But some of them know what they're doing. So good shit, Andy. Keep it up, man. I love when you post that shit. Hi, Anton. Would you be able to share with us when you are the Wyckoff materials coming to section 3? Oh yeah, Wyckoff. I don't know. Next week, this week, 2 weeks. Definitely in 4 to 5 weeks time. Probably, like, definitely will be out. So that should be done. Cheers, pew pew. Yeah, pew pew zones, bro. Any predictive bias for for a few pairs for the next week? Yeah, bullish EU, bullish gold. That's pretty much it. That's all I'm looking at right now. I think, yeah, at this area, I'm still I want to find buys in here. It can easily come in. Like, remember, when I say I want to find buys in here, just because it's probably gonna do this does not mean I'm wrong. Okay, there's fuck ton of equal lows here. There's a shit ton of beautiful areas and demand zones that price can be fully aiming for and filling in all these inefficiencies, right? But if I am to see bullishness, or if I am to look for bullish price action or try to get into bullish plays, it will be from these areas here. Now, sadly, I remember looking at this. I hate big wicks like that sometimes. And I mean, this was all before close. Like, this is just fucking ugly. I would have most likely, if I was watching this, gotten involved in potentially trades either in here or in here somewhere, or even in here. I would have been able to partial maybe at these highs, but I would have been break even easily. This would have broken me even. And then we just had a break, MB break. Potentially would have been, no, I wouldn't have been stopped because I wouldn't have just traded this. But this MB, if you use this one right here, actually got stopped, as you can see, right? MBs will not always work. I'm not here preaching that they're 100% win rate ever. A lot of you know this if you've actually properly tested. But also at the same time, if you realize what this high did when it came and got above this, the reality is a new mentfx block printed here, right? So theoretically, 100% win rate that held, right, at 50%. So you always have to be what? Cognizant of the higher, always. Just a small move like that might validate this one, right, and create a new one here might also validate this one, right? And that's really important to understand. In general, I don't like any of this price action. Like, if anything, I just want to see, maybe 15 minute. Can I see something here? We got a break. Yeah, I just want to see a break of this, and then, you know, re-entries at these areas. That's it. From gold, and then look to target highs here, and potentially the zones up here. Because I've been expecting gold to get there, but it never did. So, you know, I'm looking for it to get there. Again, price can easily break down lower. I don't think it could, because there are equal lows there, as you guys saw. But overall, I'm just bullish on this for now. If it keeps dropping, it keeps dropping. I don't care, right? If anything, I'll take one loss and then I'll drop. Otherwise, I'll get in and, you know, free money. Free Porsches. Free Lambos. 2 days. 2-day Lambo, guy. You know how it is. All right. I heard you. Thank you. Yeah, for sure, man. How do you validate a structure point? Is it just practice or something you look for? It's both. I mean, I validate structure when this happens, right? That's valid structure. Expect this. That's it. You want to see new structural points be put into place, right? That's how you that's all you do. Or validate with mentfx blocks, like we said, right? You have your down move. Does it get validated? It does. Does the second one get printed? It does, right? So maybe you use this as your set structure for highs, and then it gets invalidated. So, you know, structure has shifted, so we're waiting for either this to break or for new structure to be put in place. And right now we have nothing, right? So if this breaks, then we've put in technically bearish structure on this specific time frame, or if this breaks, we've put in potential bullish structure, right? So again, like I said, structure on specific time frames can go back and forth, and based on whether you're looking at overall swings, right? Boom, finally broken, right? Whether you're looking at overall swings, whether you're looking at candlestick structure, which as you can see, shifts a lot more, right? This is all shifts in structure. This became, did not become bearish, became bullish. Right, so I mean, technically it's bullish, right? You can see that, and now we're expecting this. And like I said, which means that if that happens, what I say, I want to look for buys to go higher, right? So predictive buys for the week, generally just gold being bullish. I mean, I don't look at stuff usually before the week and get like, I'm ready, you know, like none of that shit. I just, if I have the account and I can trade it finally, then I'll look at Euro USD, analyze it the way I normally analyze it, and act from where price is, right? That's how we do it. Just joined this evening. Haven't watched any videos on Discord yet, only for YouTube. This shit is lit. Thank you. Thank you, Jazz. Appreciate that, man. Can you go over your risk management plan on a chart for better understanding? Where do we have where do we have our entry? Let's just look at something that makes sense. Sure, let's do this. So remember how we looked at this entry right here? Where was it? Was it on the 5-minute? I think it was the 5-minute. Yeah, great. So we have mentfx block, or we have overall Wyckoff, right? Whatever you want to be looking for there. Breaks above, new mentfx block, break above, enter on the open just because we want to get in. We're not going to be sleeping around, not doing any of that shit. Okay, great. We're into buys. You have multiple choices. A, you either, because you got involved so high up, you partial here and take off like this is just, but this is trash RR. I mean, you know, sometimes I'll have to do this because of my own management, but oftentimes you don't want to do something like that. Otherwise, if you know you got involved at the 50, well, now it's a different story. This partial is not as bad anymore, right? It's a perfectly fine partial. That's how I partial though. You guys don't have to partial like this at all. Like this is, if anything, this is a dumber way to partial. It just keeps me emotionally sane. Reality is, if you got involved in this buy, the real partial that I would have looked at potentially, that I would say, like, if you lost it, basically if price got above here and then you somehow lost this trade, then you did some shit wrong, right? At least break even at this point is what you have to do, at least from my standpoint. Because like, for me, if price runs a good amount of RR, I mean, maybe here you might have not partialed yet, or even broken even because you understand that structure is still being printed like so, and you expect price could come here again before higher, and then you could break even, right? So I don't know, what does price do here? Does it come back? I mean, basically after this low and these highs get put into place, even though price can come back below here, I'd be break even here, guaranteed. I would have been partial to here again, right? It's all up to you the way you want to partial. I don't want to say anything about risk management or anything like that, because, you know, risk management is going to come down to you. Notice what works for you. Notice where price runs when you analyze the charts and get involved your way, and notice how you want to partial along the way. That's a lot of risk management is going to come down to you. I'll probably add a section 4 that will be a risk management, maybe books or psychology, something of that sort. But until I do that, I don't want to talk too much about management or risk management like that. All right. But generally, like I say, from every single thing we've ever spoken about, if I'm involved, I'll usually partial at new structure, even of that time frame, and then I'll start to partial at much higher time frame structure along the way, right? Because I can get back in, right? I understand how I can get back involved in trades if I want to. If you find a 4-hour demand zone, then a 1 hour within that. How low do you go finding a demand within demand zone? All the way down to the 1 minute. Up to you. Watch the supply and demand videos in section, what was it, section 2? Yeah, watch through all the section 2 stuff because we talk about this in depth. Definitely, we address this. When we're gonna expect section 3? So we answered that a little bit. I'm happy you guys can't wait. I got you guys, but I want to make sure it's really good too, and I have to be like fucking in the zone to get all that across because I also want to make sure that you guys understand every aspect of it, right? NZGJPY, random I know. Are you asking me to look at it? NZGJPY? A supply H4, a supply in GJ supply. Okay, hold on. Let me decipher Da Vinci Code right here. Hold on. GJ. 4 hour. Supply. Oh shit. Supply. Alright, let's see what we got here. How do I delete? Oh shit. I just 1 sec. Let me put down this. Hour 4 supply. I mean, there's this, but it's already been tapped. Oh, market's open. Nice. Cool. Market open, guys. Gonna have a great week, hopefully. I mean, yeah, this is supply zone. And then there's one right here, but that's just been tapped as well. I mean, you're having some confirmation from there now, right? You can go and look inside there for now potential Wyckoff. If that wants to break down, potentially there's going to be entries here. Partials down below some lows, right? And long-term partials down into longer supply zones, right? Simple stuff like that. If that's what it wants to do. Otherwise, like I said, like I don't like GJ that much right now. It's just kind of in a big up move. Remember, it's overall in a large new mentfx block. So if anything, this is just a pullback to continue higher. Always remember that. Unless it's tapping some crazy weekly or monthly stuff. Like, I mean, you can see this was filled. This was like the next unfilled thing is like fucking here. Really. So, like, I don't know what this wants to do. But I can still trade it, but I'm not trading it right now. I have no interest in it. Like, if you put a gun to my head and said, yo, trade GJ, I'd be like, all right, no problem, right? But I'm not interested in trading it right now, especially since it's Sunday. Like, let's just have a normal Sunday. For example, we have a 4-hour POI that has been mitigated. Would you still mark it off and try to find a smaller time frame unmitigated OB, or would you ignore it as on the 4-hour has been mitigated? This is covered in supply and demand. Watch those videos. It's all in there. Take notes on them too, because this is covered, and it's really important that you watch those and learn from them. This is big. Thank you. 21, what the fuck? Haha. Yeah, man, 21. Thought he was 25. Some Einstein level 21 gain. Yeah, nice. Twin trades. They're how I partial. Gosh, thanks. Can cover what confirming a can I speak English today? Hello. Can cover what confirming a mentfx block means. Yeah, I did that a little bit before. Hopefully that answered it. Do you refine M blocks as well? All the time. All the fucking time. M blocks are just another way to see structure. Remember that. M blocks are nothing more than another way to see structure, but also can function as ways to get involved, right? So never forget that. I do this all the time. Like, sometimes I'll look at this price here and say, okay, we just validated this mentfx block. You know, what's at around 50? Zones in here. Okay, interesting. Could be mitigation here, right? Like, I'm constantly thinking that stuff, but don't get too confused by that. What are your thoughts on GameStop? Bullish. Bullish. Pretty bullish. Yeah, from here, I've been bullish. I still think it wants to just break higher. Like, it should get to here, I believe, maybe just for the tests. And honestly, it could. I feel like it could make a run above this. I was thinking about 250, so I wasn't surprised about this run here. I thought this run here would make it to 250, so I'm still kind of around that. Since there were some zones in here I wanted to test, but I'm not trading GameStop. I just did this for the fucking memes because I had a friend of mine that was looking at it. Sorry for my name, but can you help? Can you please help me? How with this confirmation? Ass lover. Nice, great. Why'd you have to say sorry? I wouldn't have even seen it. Yeah, I just went over confirmations. Hopefully that covered it. Maybe do your own stuff first and the questions at the end. Oh, no, but part of what I was going to do was already in the question, so that was fine. Part of what I wanted to really look at today was that one Euro CNH example, where just changing our perception of the time frame we were looking at completely changed what we believe about the actual pair, right? That's all. Basically, that was like the main thing I wanted to address today, and look through this. This man Anton showed me his GameStop prediction like a month ago. Yeah, true. Don't apologize for the name. Nice. And he was spot on. Thank you, Andy. That's true. But you know, we don't need to show it off. It's all good. The MB must be in the opposite direction of the bias. No. I mean, wait, what do you mean? What? No. The MB can be anywhere, but MBs are large supply and demand zones that form in your zones that you can use to then get involved on, right? Before we finish, could you please give us your opinion on this coming week, EU? Yeah, sure. I know someone else asked about EU. I'd be happy to look at it for you. Hold on. If a mentfx block gets confirmed but doesn't get traded into, how long is valid for price is going away? I mean, usually if price goes away from it, I don't really keep it in mind. Maybe some areas within it that I've refined might be in my mind, but like I like them to develop as they go, right? So if one is left behind and new start developing, like I might counter trend with smaller MBs at those areas into it, right? But other than that, I don't count it like super valid for myself. But I mean, you should just test this. I just have my way of looking at it. I haven't tested every single way of looking at them, definitely. Even though I've invented them, you know, Porsche rules. Yes, it does. Do you trade every day and check for trades in all time frames, or only trade when it hits Wyckoff on certain time frames? All time frames, any day, anytime. I mean, like I'm very dynamic. Sometimes I'll just sleep all day. Sometimes I'll be doing other things throughout the day. Sometimes I will just won't be on the chart. Some days I'll just want to look at charts and won't even get a trade, sadly. You know, but other days I'll be in front of a chart and get like 30 trades. I mean, if you guys saw my verification, it was in drawdown for a while. Right, it was 2 days. It was a 2-day verification. I was in drawdown first, and then I completed it, and that was in about 35 trades, 36 trades, and that was all in 2 days. Right, so like sometimes I'll unleash that crackhead energy, and other times I'll just, you know, sing Kumbaya by the fireplace. That's it. Like it just depends on how I'm feeling. Fuck Euro in my zone, but can't trade it. Maybe it's a sign. Do you trade whilst being high? No, I don't smoke or anything. Nice. I don't that's back in the day. I don't take any stuff anymore. Not take. I don't smoke anything anymore. Jesus, what am I talking about? Literally, that's what happened to me today. I don't know anything. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about this. You'll have days where you just like you look at a chart and you're like, did I really devote my life to candles? What the fuck's going on here? Like, but then everything, like, it'll come back. It's normal. It's part of learning. Part of learning is unlearning and then relearning, right? It's literally your brain rewiring certain understandings, and that's gonna happen, especially when you're in this group and you're just like, we're talking about certain things like this. Like you'll start to see things very differently, perspective-wise, and it can get confusing. Don't get me wrong. It is gonna be confusing. Oh man, I need to hear you say that about things clicking into place and vanishing again. Yep, definitely happens. Had to take a break for like 2 weeks. Exactly. You take a break and all of a sudden it's just all there. Exactly. Yeah. Very well said. I literally had that feeling. Exactly. Yeah. So you guys felt all of that. We're gonna kind of wrap this up as we get through the rest of these questions. When you get called a crackhead, then you know something's going correct. Exactly. We love being crackheads. Did you say that section 3 will be out in a couple of weeks? Yeah, like 3 to 4 max, probably. Like 3 to 5 weeks max, definitely. Just because I'm just in the middle of finishing up all my studies. So yeah. How long you been trading, Andy? That's for Andy. He'll take care of you. Yeah, how long has everyone been trading for? Yeah, you guys fuck it up. You guys can talk about that in the Discord. Been trading since like last June. Yeah. Okay, great. Everyone's trading a long time. Everyone's from different pasts. Been gambling for like past year and a half. Nice. So we love gambling. Then I rewatch videos and I stop gambling. And then back to it, right? Well, shit, son, if you're trading the tick charts already, you're a fly guy. There you go. How does this look? This looks, I don't know what you're highlighting here. This is confusing me a little bit, not gonna lie. I don't know what this is at all. I can't really see. This low to this high doesn't even make sense because there's a low here too. So I don't know what this is, but we do have miniature breakdowns in price here. Price coming back up, testing areas in here, just filling in some imbalance. Moving away, breaking down the structure. Definitely left behind a mentfx block. Another one. I would imagine just looking at this that it's going to respect this supply zone right here. But this could be valid too. I mean, this is the same thing that we looked at earlier in the webinar. So just rewatch what I said. Once this is uploaded, how I dealt with the other when Dino posted his photo, and I would assume this would be the same way. I'll look at this the same way, but like. I don't know, just looking at this, I'd assume this one to hold. And again, if it doesn't, you know, don't come at me, because I trade with more confirmation than that. Learning all the retail beforehand helps a lot when going to smart money. Yeah, a little, but it can also get really confusing too, on the other hand. But it's better because then you understand how you're actually getting liquidated sometimes. Show my girlfriend's laptop. I just realized my comment and my name's not Jazz. Oh, fuck, that's funny. Yeah, retail helped a lot with psychology, so now I'm hella calm. Yeah, okay, so psychology-wise, it's definitely good. How can you take partial profit without breaking even? You take off, you close a part of your lots open, but you don't move your stop loss. That's it. Is there a certain day and time we shouldn't look for trades? I mean, I say don't look at it for Sunday nights, just because it's Sunday and spread's usually shit. But reality is no. I don't believe in not looking for trades at certain times. I just believe that you can have them anywhere. I mean, I still stay away from news because, you know, spread gets much bigger, spread widens, news can go all over the place. Even if you have an assumption, brokers can malfunction, like things can just happen. So, and if you're trading the way we do here, and you don't know, and you know the market's fractal and you can get in almost anywhere, then why the fuck do you need to risk it? You know? So there's that. When market opens, I tend not to trade. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, when the market opens, like things all over the place, spread widens and gets smaller, widens, get smaller, it's just all over the place. And yeah, I can die or shoot up, but that's usually not a problem, especially if you have an analysis on it, so it's not too crazy. GG's, alright, get out of here, man. Good luck. Enjoy your fatty. I don't know how old you are, but you're too good. I'm 21, bro. I thought it would be a better joke than that. Oh, yeah. Guys, yesterday I checked how many trades I entered last week, and the number was plus 100. Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's not about the number of trades you take, it's about how you go about taking them. Like, and if it's going to be 300 trades, as long as they're part of your system, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. He can have 100 trades in a week. He could have 1 trade the next week. He could have 0 trades the week after, right? But that doesn't change whether he's profitable or not. It's just about how he follows his strategy. That's it. And that will give you the ability to take days off and take breaks when you want to, because you realize you don't have to be constantly crack the fuck out on the charts, especially if you trade like me or Andy, like on the much smallers. Oh, good shit. Do you trade on Monday? I mean, yeah, sometimes if I see something, but I probably won't because my FTMO doesn't arrive for a while. Ignore that MB. I was testing something. Gotcha. Can you record your back testing so we can see how you enter in real life situations? I do not backtest. I only backtest structure sometimes just for fun, like 4-hour structure. Let's milk the markets this week. Yeah, so I hope everybody enjoyed it. We're pretty much done. Anyone that has a little bit more questions can stick around for a little, and you'll just cover that before I stop this. I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you everybody for being part of the second webinar. I hope this is enjoyable for those of you that were here, and for the ones that get to rewatch this in the future, or in the next week, or whenever you're a new member, whatever it may be. I'm gonna stop this recording. Peace.